Hi, Marco. Now, I remember a time when I used to watch 6 minutes of ads every 30 minutes just to watch a show. Nowadays, we can barely wait for 15 seconds. Honestly, maybe I'll dive into why we didn't care too much about ads as we seem today, but one of the reasons that might have been that those ads were separating us from the characters and the stories we were about to watch, and those characters felt like real people, until they didn't. One show many of us enjoyed back in the early 2000s was Friends.
Fine, judge all you want to, but married a lesbian, left a man at the altar, fell in love with a gay ice dancer, threw a girl's wooden leg in the fire, live in a box.
But as the seasons went by, something changed. And I'm not talking about people realizing that Ross was an actual S-tier creep.
By the way, if it makes you feel any better, I happen to like 8-year-old boys.
I'm talking about the tragic loss of some of these characters. And it's not like they died on screen dramatically, it's just that they stopped being real people somewhere along the way. Joey straight up became a cartoon. Ned Flanders, the character who coined the term Flanderization, turned into a walking Bible joke. And even gaming isn't safe from this death of beloved characters. Case in point, when even Claptrap went from tragic to just annoying. So today, let's take a brief look at some Flanderized characters and try to figure out why we end up losing characters we used to love. Now, I mentioned that Ned Flanders coined the term Flanderization, but that's a bit misleading, as the website TV Tropes was the one that came up with the name, honoring, of course, Ned Flanders himself, the lovely religious neighbor from The Simpsons. Early Ned was actually interesting. He was the opposite of Homer in many ways. He served as a stark contrast to the character, being a stable family man, kind, helpful, and yeah, he was religious.
Knock that off, you two. It's time for church.
We're not going to church today.
What? You give me one good reason.
It's Saturday!
But at the midway point from season 11 onwards, Ned became obsessively religious and obnoxiously intolerant. Due to the deaths of his wives, whenever you want to joke about loneliness, depression, good old Ned Flanders is there to take the punch. But why do characters become just a shell of their former selves? There are a bunch of reasons. Sure, syndication is one, but that's not the whole story. Long-running series can wear everyone out, and over time, the traits that make a character unique get boiled down to a simple formula. It's especially easy for this to happen when writers come and go throughout a show's run. So, was Ned religious? Make that his entire personality. It's lazy, but it worked for casual viewers flipping channels after 2 a.m. while eating way too many sandwiches.
I heard the dean is coming. Put out your sandwich.
It's a simple blueprint for how your favorite characters lose their souls and just become shells of their former selves. Now, I started the video talking about Joey Tribbiani, and honestly, the big reason I thought about recording this was Joey. Back in the early seasons, Joey was a pretty well-rounded guy. He was the protective, big brother type, street smart, a struggling actor, and he genuinely cared about his friends. Sure, he was goofy and a bit of a flirt, but he also had real moments of emotional intelligence and depth. But over time, that changed. The writers realized that Joey's lovable idiot routine always got big laughs. And when you're pushing out around 24 episodes every year for a decade, it's tempting to lean into a simplicity that works. Yes, back in those days, seasons used to have 20 or more episodes, not the average of 12 or less we get now. You also didn't have to wait 10 years just to be entirely whelmed by an ending either. So, Friends leaned into it hard. By season 10, Joey, who, as an actor, should be able to memorize lines, can't even mimic Phoebe speaking basic French. The show turns him into a simple running gag, ignoring all the depth he once had. The character we had been rooting for years was gone. Because of this, there was a push to define the character by a single, easily recognizable trait. Joey became the one who is clueless. And since complexity doesn't fit easily into a 24-minute episode with so little time to wrap up multiple storylines, you end up with moments like, Joey doesn't share food, a catchphrase that works on a t-shirt or a GIF, but has nothing to do with what the character once was. But we enjoyed it. We kept watching, even though we knew the original season 1 Joey was gone. Joey's decline became the textbook case of how sitcoms can drain the life out of their best characters. They even gave Matt LeBlanc a spin-off show, Joey, which crashed and burned after 2 seasons. Why? Because late-stage Flanderized Joey couldn't hold the show together. When a character is reduced to a single joke, there's nothing left to root for. A punchline can't have an arc. A character can't carry a story. This is the sitcom blueprint. Find the one trait that gets laughs, strip away everything else, and repeat until the character is unrecognizable. That's how you end up with someone like Season 10 Joey, a shadow of what made him special, a catchphrase on a t-shirt instead of a person you care about. But here's the thing, Flanderization has crept into every corner of pop culture, including gaming, and it's just as devastating there. Take Claptrap, for example. If you thought it was sad watching Joey become a punchline, wait until you see what happens to a once beloved gaming icon.
I will destroy Handsome Jack with my bare hands! I will... Stairs? No!
In my opinion, Claptrap is one of the major examples of how bad Flanderization can get. The original Borderlands was a game I played way too much when I didn't have the time to chase platinum trophies, but still did anyway. And Claptrap was a character that I used to enjoy, making those several hours on the game pretty interesting. He was this lonely, pathetic robot desperate for friendship in a cruel wasteland. He wanted so badly to matter, to be loved, and the game gave him that loneliness real weight. You felt bad for him, he had depth. By Borderlands 3, Claptrap is just a weaponized annoyance. The game itself is basically screaming for you to loathe him. Every line is screaming quirky nonsense, and every interaction is designed to make you roll your eyes. Now, granted, Claptrap has been through a lot, but he ended up becoming a character of quirky robot that screams everywhere. The writers took the one trait that was supposed to make him endearing and cranked it over 9,000. Now, this wasn't the only character that Borderlands eventually massacred and killed throughout the years, and I'm not even going to pretend with you that I watched the movie because who did? Another beloved and iconic character that got hit hard by Flanderization? Sonic. But in that universe, I argue he is not even the worst case. Take Knuckles, for example, who ended up going full Joey Tribbiani in the Flanderization of his character. He started as this perfect rival, the guardian of their emeralds. Gullible, sure, but not stupid. Now he's just this muscle-bound idiot who can't read.
Oh wait, I can't read.
Give me that.
Shadow used to be this complex anti-hero dealing with grief and purpose. Now he's just a brooding, edgy one. Honestly, most of the Sonic characters became their own parodies. And yeah, I'm an adult, getting disappointed in a media that is clearly intended for kids. So what? Ratchet from Ratchet & Clank started as a selfish, flawed mechanic who had to learn how to be a hero. By the reboot, he's just a generic good guy who wants to do the right thing. What's his purpose? Being good? Cool. Lara Croft's reboot gave her depth, made her vulnerable and human, but the sequels are already leaning back into badass archaeologists. The complexity is fading. Now, some of you might be thinking, isn't this just character development? No, and here's how you tell the difference. Look at Kratos. God of War 2018 added layers to him. He went from angry, I'm going to murder every single god murder machine, to a father struggling with his past. That's development. He kept his core traits but gained complexity.
The Sisters of Fate could not hold me, and you will not see the end of this day. I will have my revenge!
And you must be better than me. Understand?
Flanderization removes complexity. It takes one trait and make it the only thing. You can have a character work with their main traits without those traits being the only thing about them. The cost of Flanderization is that when every line is predictable, immersion dies. You stop caring. The character becomes almost an NPC, even though we're the ones controlling it. And when you're trying to build a world, when you're trying to tell a story that matters, being pulled out of that immersion kind of misses the point. So, what does that mean for us? Flanderization is the enemy of good storytelling. It reduces great characters into one-note gimmicks. And when that happens, we lose what made us care about them in the first place. And let's be real, sometimes it's even worse than if the character had just been written out entirely. But I want to hear from you. What's the most heartbreaking example of Flanderization you've seen in TV, movies, or games? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Alright, bye!